In this video, we will see the very important data structure that is used in the blockchain, which is called Merkle tree. Before moving on to the Merkle tree, first of all, just we'll recall the concept of binary trees in data structures. There is a course called data structures in the computer science and information technology, in which people used to learn the nonlinear data structures, which are the example of nonlinear data structure is tree. Here in tree, the data will be arranged in the hierarchical fashion. As you have seen in this particular diagram, the data will be arranged in the hierarchical fashion. Here 1, next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is the way how the data will be arranged in the hierarchical fashion, which is called tree fashion. So this binary tree, the name is telling you that every node in this particular tree. So this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, these are said to be nodes in the tree. Every node can have at most 2 children. So this is said to be children. 2 is children and 3 is children. Of whom 1. So 1 is the parent, 1 is the successor, and 2 and 3 are the descendants. These descendants are said to be children, and successor is said to be the parent. Okay. Since the entire tree generation started from 1, so this 1 is said to be root node. Okay. So 1 is root, 2 and 3 are the children of this root, 4 and 5 are the children of 2, 6 and 7 are the children of 3. Okay. 8 and 9 are the children of 4, 10 and 11 are the children of 5, like that. So this Merkle tree is a binary tree data structure actually. So this is a binary tree data structure. So what is the special in this Merkle tree? So in this Merkle tree, just to recall the cryptographic hash function from the previous videos that I have explained in the previous video. The blockchain will use the cryptographic hash function called SHA-256. Especially Bitcoin will use the SHA-256. So this just to recall the cryptographic hash function. With the help of this cryptographic hash function, this tree will be built from bottom to top. So the tree will be built from bottom to top with the help of this cryptographic hash function. That I will explain just now, just in the next slide, that how this particular construction of the tree will be formed. So this Merkle tree, it is named after Rolf Merkle. Actually, he is the one who patented this particular Merkle tree, and he is a computer scientist, and especially who used to work on the cryptography concept. So he patented this one in 1979. So after his patent, this particular tree was called as Merkle tree. Is arrangement of cryptographic hashes in a perfect binary tree fashion. So just now I told you Merkle tree is a binary tree, and here perfect binary tree. So what is this perfect binary tree? A perfect binary tree consisting of for any node in the tree. So you take whatever the node you want. For every node in the tree, any node in the tree, the node may have 0 or 2 children. That means, for example, 16, 17, 18, 19, these are the nodes if you consider. Did this 16, 17 up to 31, these are the nodes are there. Are these nodes consisting of any children? Obviously, no children are there. That is, 0 children are there from 16 to 31. You consider the remaining nodes 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 are 4, 5, 2, 1. So all these nodes are having 2 children exactly. That means for any node in the tree, it may have 0 or 2 children. That is what we call perfect binary tree. If a tree has n nodes, then its height will be calculated as log n plus 1 to the base 2. Why 2? Because it is having 2 children. So log n plus 1 to the base 2. So that means if a tree is having 32 nodes, then the height will be log 32 base 2 or 33 base 2. is around 5. If a tree has height h, then the number of nodes will be 2 power h plus 1. If the height is 5, then 2 power 5 plus 1. That is around 33 nodes will be there. So height means here this is at level. For example, if you look at this, 1 is the root node, which is at level 0, level 1. 2 and 3 are at level 1, and 4, 5, 6, 7 are at level 2. Next, 8, 9, 10 up to 15 are at level 3, and up to 16 to 31 are at level 4. Are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the height, you can say. So the maximum, what is the maximum length that will be covered from the root to any of the children is that any of the leaf or the lowest node is said to be the height of the tree. If the height is h, then the number of nodes in that tree will be 2 power h plus 1. So total how many nodes are there here? 31 nodes are there. Okay, from 1 to 31. So almost around 32 nodes are there. So since 32 nodes are there, the height will become 5. So if a tree was formed with these three properties, then such tree is said to be a perfect binary tree. And the Merkle tree will also be like a perfect binary tree. So some terminologies that we are supposed to know before moving on to the deeper technical aspect of the Merkle tree. That is, in a above diagram, in this particular diagram, node 1 is said to be the root node. Okay, node 1 is said to be the root node. Node 16 to 31 are said to be the leaf nodes. Here 16 to 31 are said to be the leaf nodes. Leaf nodes in the sense those are the nodes don't have the children. Such nodes are said to be the leaf nodes. Next, node 8 is the sibling of node 9. So node 8 is there, who is the sibling of node 9, and node 9 is also sibling of node 8. The reason is these two are the nodes of the same parent, that is 4. Okay, it is just like common way of calling sibling in the sense children of the same parent. So since 8 and 9 are belongs to the same parent, so that is the reason 8 and 9 are the siblings. Node 2 is the parent of node 4 and 5. So node 2 is the parent of node 4 and 5. Like that, node 12 is the parent of 24 and 25. Like that, node 3 is the parent of 6 and node 6 and node 7. The same way, node 4 and 5 are said to be the children of node 2. So node 4 and 5 are said to be the children of node 2. In the same way, node 30 and node 31 are the children of node 15. So this is the way how the perfect binary tree will be maintained, and these are some terminologies that are used in the perfect binary tree. Now we'll see the technical concept of Merkle tree, how this particular Merkle tree will be formed with the help of cryptographic hash functions, and how these particular cryptographic hash values are arranged in the perfect binary tree fashion. Here we can look at this is a binary tree, perfect binary tree. The reason is every node have 0 or 2 children. So here D0, D1, D2, D3 and so on up to D7 have no further children, and T3 is the node having 2 children, T4 is having 2 children, like the T1 is having T3 and T4 are the 2 children, like the T0 is having T1 and T2 as the children. Now D0 to D7, this D0 to D7 is the data. You take whatever the data you want. D0 to D7 is the data, and now T3 is the node is going to be formed as the hash of D0 and D1. So T3 is the hash of D0 and D1. So here this symbol, the symbols 2 bar represents that concatenation. So this is the hash of D0 concatenated with D1. So that means D0 plus D1. Okay, the hash of D0 plus D1 is T3. Like that, T4 is the hash of D2 and D3. So if you add D2 and D3 and perform the hash on this, then what is the T4 is? That is what the T4 is. Like that D4 and D5, hash is T5. Hash of D6 and D7 is T6. So like this, whenever this T3 and T4, these T3 and T4 are the hash values of D0 and D1. Like that, T1 is the hash of T1 is the node in which the value is the hash of T3 and T4. Like that, T2 is the node in which the hash of which consisting of hash of T5 and T6. Where in case of T0, this is said to be Merkle root, or we can say this is the starting point. We can say this is the Merkle root. Actually, the Merkle tree will start formation from the bottom to top. Okay, so this is called Merkle root T0, and this T0 is the hash of T1 and T2. Generally, assume that you have the data D0 to D7. Basically, this hashing will be used for maintaining the integrity. That means, is the data tampered or not? So for that, what we generally do is assume that the data items are D0 to D7. How to verify a data item, say D2, is tampered or not? In general, what we'll do is we'll take the hash of D0 and D1, that is D0 plus D1 plus D2 plus D3 plus D4 plus D5 plus D6 plus D7. That means we will add all these data items, then we'll perform hash on that. Then whatever the resultant will get, that resultant will be there, and the resultant will be given to the verifier. And if the verifier wants to see that whether the data item D2 has been tampered or not, for that he need to have the remaining data items also. Otherwise, he cannot check, because he need other data items like D0, D1, D3, D4, D5, D6, and D7. So whenever all these data items are all these data items are given to the verifier, then only he can check whether the D2 is really tampered or not. Because unless until D0 to D7 is not there, whatever the hash code that we generated by adding all these data items will not be reachable, or will not get it back. So that is the reason the verifier should have all these data items to verify whether one of the data item is tampered or not. So that is what we'll do here is hash of D0 to D7. Then we'll get the hash value. This hash value will be given to the verifier, and we should also supply D0 to D7. Then only the verifier will verify that this hash value what you have supplied is correct or not. If D2 is tampered, what will happen? This hash value that verifier will not get whenever you perform the rehashing on this. So this is the main problem here. To check even a single data item, the verifier or the one who will verify that data item, or for looking for the tampering of the data item, need to have all the data items that are presented in the system. Then only he can go for performing of the hash on all these data items and can verify is there any data item tampered or not. So this is the general way of verification, but this Merkle tree will reduce the effort of having or supplying all the data items for verifying a single data item is tampered or not. That is what the advantage of Merkle tree is. That means if here in our case, for example here, the number of data items are only 8, that is D0 to D7. But assume that in general, in blockchain, whenever you put the number of transactions, if the transactions are too heavy in a particular period, if more number of transactions were generated, then how can you verify all the data items? or all the transactions. So that means the verifier should have the hashes or the values or the transactions that will happen in that particular period. That means you are supposed to supply many transactions, because in a certain period, many number of transactions may be generated. So that is reason this Merkle tree will reduce the effort of having all the data items for checking a single data item is tampered or not. That we'll see now. So here the assumption is not assumption, in general also, I want to check whether the data items are correct or not. That means verifier knows T naught. So that means myself know what is T naught, what is the root hash. Okay, that is, we can say, which is said to be Merkle root. So verifier know T naught. How can verifier know authenticate leaf DI? So for example, I want to authenticate whether the D2 is not tampered or D2 integrity is correctly maintained. So the solution is recompute T naught using DI. So you are supposed to recompute this D naught, the T naught, that is the Merkle root, again by using DI. So for this, in general, in a linear way, in the previous slide we have seen, we need to have D naught to D7. But here we no need to have D naught to D7. Only three nodes are sufficient for us to check whether to recompute this T naught. That is, here which are indicated in green, that is D3 is required for us, T3 is required, and T2 is required. If we have T2, T3 and D3, we can easily recompute T naught, and we can verify whether this D2 is tampered or not. Example, authenticate D2. So if the verifier wants to authenticate D2, then only thing is you are supposed to send D3 value, T3 value, and T2 hash value. So the hash which is present in the T3, hash present in the T2, and data item D3. If you can send this, then the verifier will reconstruct the Merkle root T naught as T naught is equal to hash of T3 plus hash of D2 D3 plus hash of the T2. That is, T2 is already having the hash value and T3 is also having hash value. This is the formula will be applied by the verifier to recalculate the T naught. So anyhow, previously the verifier know the T naught. After calculation, whatever the T naught that he will get are equal, then D2 is not tampered. If the previous verifier know whatever the T naught known to him previously is not matched with the T naught value that what we have computed here, then we'll come to know that D2 is tampered. That means the number of data items to verify whether a particular data item is tampered or not is significantly reduced in case of Merkle tree, where in case of the linear way of verification, we need to have all the data items to check whether a single data item is tampered or not. In this way, it reduces the effort of verification by the users. So this is the advantage of Merkle tree. I am not going in the details of how to construct the Merkle tree and all. So whenever we are supposed to check whether whenever we know we are supposed to check a data item like this D2, we need to have the sibling of it. We need to have the root of the left subtree, that is here T3, and we need to have the root of the right subtree T2. So these three are required. For example, if I want to know whether D4 is tampered or not, then I need to have D5, T6, and T1. Okay, this is the way we need to supply. Then only we can apply this particular double hashing here. Then we can recalculate T naught. So the previous T naught and the T naught that what we have obtained after recalculation are equal. Then the D4 is not tampered. Otherwise, the D4 is considered to be tampered. This is what the Merkle tree advantage. So in general, here in the previous slides, we have used D0, D1 and D3, but in Merkle tree, nowhere data will be there. Okay, the data will be again hashed like this. So this particular diagram I have taken from the Wikipedia. Here these are the data blocks L1, L2, L3, L4. These data blocks, what they will do is, first of all, L1 will be hashed. So you will get the hash. L2 will be hashed. This hash value will be there. L3 will be hashed. L4 will be hashed. Now the hash of L1, hash of L2 will be combined to make its root. In the same way, hash of L3 and hash of L4 will be attached to its root by hashing hash of L3 plus hash of L4. That is hash of 1 0 and hash of 1 1. That is what the meaning here. So then again, the hash of this one, hash of 0 and hash of 1 will be added and rehashed so that you will get the top hash, which is called Merkle root. So in general Merkle trees, data items will not be available. Only the hashes will be available. Okay. Now we'll see how this particular Merkle root is useful in the creation of the block in the blockchain. So this is the block 0 of the Bitcoin blockchain. Let will inspect this block 0 of the Bitcoin blockchain. The block 0, the initial block is said to be the genesis block, which is the starting block actually. So this starting block, look at, this is the hash of the starting block, and confirmations, this is the one, timestamp, when it was created 2009 March 1st. Okay, then the height is 0, that means which is at the root level. This is the root level. Next, the number of transactions are 1. Here only one transaction is available in this. The difficulty is 1. Here the Merkle root, this is the one we are supposed to focus on. This is Merkle root. That means that Merkle root is the hash of its data items. Then it will form a parent. Then its siblings hash. It will be combined. Finally, we'll get the root. That is called Merkle root. So what is this Merkle root? Actually, these are the transactions that will happen. The hash of all these transactions, thereby, as we have seen in the previous slides, that the tree formation will be done, and whatever is the root hash that we get, that is what the root hash here. If I know this root hash, then I can easily check whether these transactions were tampered or not. So it is just like how we have checked whether the data item D2 is tampered or not. So this is the way we'll use this Merkle tree and Merkle root and the root hash for verification of whether any transaction has been tampered or not in a blockchain, in a blockchain. So this is what the Merkle root. We will meet with another topic in the next lecture.